we'll move on to our surprises and disappointments of the year in general. I'll start. The biggest surprises, I guess, in the first one I'll name is Newcastle. I think that's easily by far.
Yeah, 100%, because they got those owners, right? We're like, oh, these guys are probably gonna spend big. They haven't.
They kind of did, but not to the guys you would think
Yeah,
of. Like
they
Isak was
haven't.
a big signing.
Yeah, they had it, and then they also managed a Champions League spot. But the Isak obviously played well. One guy who was really good in the beginning, probably not heard of him much lately, was Miguel Almiron, who was absolutely
Yeah,
killer in
he
the
was
beginning.
killing. I think he was injured a bit too.
Thing with one of the Alan Saint, I can't
Alan
talk
St.
right now.
Maximin.
Alan Saint Maximin. One issue with him was that he couldn't really fit
His style,
his style,
but he was just so good one
but
on
he was
one.
so good, so fast, and so good one on one that like they had to play him.
Yeah.
Obviously,
The other guys, Sven Botman had a great year.
yeah, he could have been
They're
like
defensively they were really good. Sven
they were really
Botman,
good.
Kieran Trippier, Nick Pope was probably the
Nick Pope,
goalie of
and
the
then they had
year.
like that gigantic left back in
Yeah.
Dan Burn, and then Fabian Schär was also a sick center back,
Longstaff brothers.
and then Longstaff. Like they had like good depth pieces, right? Like good role players, if you would put in NBA terms.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, can they like add in a star player, right? Like
Yeah.
the world class
Which I
players
think they
now.
will. Names are out there like Neymar and them, so which we'll talk about later. But I guess you want to name a surprise or a disappointment?
I mean, obviously, one surprise was Brighton a little bit because the way that they've been playing. Like, if you look at their style of play, it's been incredible. And obviously, they were good in the beginning, Graham Potter, but then
Yeah.
he took the Chelsea job, and then Robert De Zerbi stepped up and still kept him at the same level. Like, there was no drop off at Brighton. But another surprise is Arsenal,
Yeah.
right? Yes, season ended horribly wrong for them, in my opinion, and it was a disappointing end for sure. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at it just straight from the beginning of the season, the expectation was top four and not title.
Yeah. I guess last one for the surprises before we get to talk about probably your two disappointing or three disappointing teams. Aston Villa fired their Gerard, I think it was.
Yeah, fired Gerrard.
Gerard season, early in the mid season. And brought in Unai Emery, and from being at relegation at one point, have now secured the 7th seed and or part of the Conference League, ahead of a team like Tottenham as well. So,
I had the run because they were relegation at that
Yeah.
point, right? When they fired, and Unai Emery, obviously
came
a
in.
very well respected coach,
Yeah.
knows his stuff, and came in, took him all the way to 7th place and earned him a European spot. So we're gonna see Newcastle in the Champions League. We're gonna see Brighton in the Europa League, and we're gonna see Aston Villa in the Conference League, which is incredible to say because like if you're like 5 years ago, we're like these teams will never be contending Europe. They'll be like mid table at best.
Yeah. I guess moving on to the disappointment easily, Chelsea,
Obviously, I mean, you spent what, $1 billion?
600 million. So you're not even far off in a way.
Like, yeah,
You spent
you spent $1 billion to sign every single player, and you still didn't address your biggest need.
striker.
How the hell do you manage to do that?
It's like they went like a new owner came in, like Roman Abramovich sold, and Todd Bowley, American owner, came in, and he just like he kind of did like the Ishbia thing but failed. Like, you know how Ishbia came in as like, give me Kevin Durant. Now he fired Monty Williams. He's taking that control. He came in as like, okay, let me spend. Obviously, Lukaku was like, okay, I want out because he wasn't getting along with Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel, for whatever reason, got sacked. I don't even think he should have been sacked. Maybe at that point he did. Brought in a guy in Graham Potter. I remember I was with mom somewhere and I messaged you, I'm like, bro, Graham Potter is now Chelsea's coach. We're screwed because Chelsea's stacked. And we're like, okay, well, Graham Potter shot the bed like he was like the worst coach. And that's why I'll pose a question in a second here is, and then you fire Graham Potter and you somehow decide to bring Frank Lampard in, who struggled in Everton, who struggled in Chelsea. And I've seen Chelsea fans on Twitter and soccer Twitter or something. They're like, okay, this guy's a club legend. Why would even him come back? Obviously, he wants to try to revive his career because he struggled in the Premier League. Clearly, I don't think they won one game, and then
They
2
won
draws
1 game.
maybe. And yeah, so and then on top of that, you went like name chasing, like you went after Who were the guys that earlier in the year?
Fofana,
Koulibaly, Fofana, Benoit
Koulibaly,
Berichele, right? They went out
Cucurella.
Cucurella.
Um,
And then after that, you went after Enzo Fernandez. You spent a lot of money, which is a fair signing. He's a great
he
player.
still played.
He was fine.
Enzo was fine for
Then you
them.
went after João Felix, but then you fire Graham Potter, and João Felix is benched because he's in a Frank Lampard doesn't believe he fits. And then Mudryk was this close of joining Arsenal, like this close of joining Arsenal. You could see Mudryk, sharing his stories and stuff. Like, I'm an Arsenal player soon. Chelsea hijack him. Yeah, it was something. And then again, like you said, the biggest need is striker, and they don't fix that. And obviously, they brought in Pochettino. I still think Pochettino is a good manager. So the scary thing is Todd Bowley decided to back off and focus on other things. So which means Chelsea's back in control with Chelsea, like the director of football.
One thing I want
that.
to say, like, I know he's the owner, but who let this American take control? Like, he doesn't know jack shit.
Yeah, it's something for sure. Like, obviously, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I love that they're 12th place. I don't care that they were. But the one thing I want to say for sure is, like, when United shot the bed last year, we still made Europe. So when some of these teams do bad, they do bad, right?
Yeah, I remember one time when I think Chelsea won the title with Antonio Conte, and then the next year they were like 11th place.
Yeah, like Eden Hazard did not score a goal until like the last game of the season.
Yeah, and I think like they won a while back with Jose Mourinho in his second stint in Chelsea, and then obviously had a poor year after.
Yeah, they've been up and down, but I still think next year Chelsea should be back. They just get a striker, which they're going after, a guy that we're going after in Victor Osimhen. So I still think they'll be fine next year. I hope they aren't, but I think they will be. But I guess moving on, let's talk about the guy who they hired, Pochettino, his former team in Tottenham. Also, I think disappointing, did not even make Europe.
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing. You could just tell, like, I mean, Antonio Conte got fired, and he said it himself. He's like, this team's not built for winning. Like, their management or ownership, they're not built for winning. They don't put winning as their priority. They're not a winning club, and it's clearly shown because they have 0 trophies in the cabinet.